million, 30 million, all in US dollars, 19 million, and 25 million.
In 2016, the world came dangerously close to witnessing the largest bank robbery in history. Not the kind with masks and guns, not the kind where a vault is blown open in the middle of the night. This heist happened through a computer, through a few lines of code. Through a system trusted by almost every bank on Earth, hackers silently entered the Central Bank of Bangladesh, the heart of an entire nation's financial system. And they almost walked away with $1 billion. Their operation was so well planned, so precise, so patient, that the only thing that stopped them was a broken office printer. This is the true story of the Bangladesh Bank Cyber Heist, a nearly perfect digital robbery that exposed the weaknesses of global finance and revealed the terrifying rise of cyber warfare between nations. It was late evening on February 4th, 2016. Inside the Bangladesh Bank in Dhaka, most lights were already off. Only a handful of workers remained. The air was still. The servers in the back rooms hummed quietly, a routine sound no one paid attention to. But deep inside those servers, something else was awake. Unknown to anyone at the bank, hackers had already broken into the system months earlier. They moved silently. They waited for the perfect moment. And tonight, the moment had finally arrived. At exactly 8:36 p.m., the attack began. The hackers started generating swift transfer requests, official messages used between banks to move money around the world. But these weren't normal transfers. These were massive, shockingly massive. $20 million, $30 million, $81 million, $250 million. In total, $951 million, nearly $1 billion. The destination for this money wasn't a random bank. It was the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, one of the most secure banking institutions on the planet. The hackers knew exactly what they were doing. They knew the banking hours. They knew the staff schedules. They knew when oversight would be minimal. It was like watching a ghost move through a locked building, knowing every door code, every camera angle, every blind spot. The heist had officially begun. To understand how this happened, we need to go back months earlier. Hackers had managed to install malware inside the Bangladesh Bank's computer network. This malware wasn't sloppy or rushed. It was careful, quiet, invisible. For weeks, they did nothing. No files deleted, no money moved, no alarms triggered. Instead, they watched. Keystroke logging software recorded every password typed by officers. Screen-grabbing programs captured snapshots of banking operations. The hackers studied how employees checked Swift messages. They even observed when staff members took lunch breaks, tea breaks, and when they usually left for the day. This wasn't typical cyber criminal group. This was something far more disciplined, far more sophisticated. Team that understood banking procedures as well as cybersecurity. It was like they were preparing for a military operation. And in a way, they were. By the time the hackers struck, they knew more about the Bangladesh Bank's internal workflow than some employees did. This was not just a hack. This was infiltration. This was espionage. This was patience, weaponized. The Bangladesh Bank hackers created 35 separate transfer requests, sending them to the New York Federal Reserve. On the surface, everything looked legitimate. The formatting was flawless. The digital signatures matched. The Swift codes were correct. The timing matched normal transactions. The system was designed to trust these requests. And trust can be dangerous. The New York Fed began processing the transfers. Money started moving. But then, something strange happened. One of the receiving accounts was named the Shalika Foundation, but the hackers misspelled it as Shalika Foundation. That tiny spelling mistake, that single misplaced letter, triggered additional checks. Under normal circumstances, this typo might have gone unnoticed. But the amount of money involved made everything look suspicious. The Fed flagged a few transactions. Some were put on hold. Others went through. The hackers were inches away from pulling off the impossible. Back in Dhaka, the next morning began like any other. Bangladesh Bank staff arrived, ready to start their day. One of the first tasks, check the Swift printer. The machine that prints records of money transfers done overnight. But when they looked at it, the printer was frozen, completely stuck, unresponsive. It wasn't printing anything. Thinking it was just another annoying technical glitch, an employee restarted it. And then, chaos erupted. As soon as the printer rebooted, it started spitting out paper, dozens of pages, filled with enormous transfer requests, all marked as synced. $951 million gone. For a moment, no one could speak. No one understood what they were looking at. Panic spread through the room. Phones rang. Senior officials were called in. Emails flew back and forth. The bank immediately contacted the Federal Reserve in New York. Stop the transfers. Stop everything right now. Something is very wrong. If that printer hadn't malfunctioned, the Bangladesh Bank wouldn't have known until Monday morning. By then, almost the entire $1 billion would have vanished. A broken printer, probably bought for a few $100s, saved nearly $1 billion. Even with the stop request, it was too late for some of the money. $81 million had already escaped the system and entered the global financial underworld. And the path it took was bizarre. Not Switzerland, not offshore havens with white beaches and palm trees, not cryptocurrency. It went into casinos in the Philippines. Why casinos? Because at that time, casinos were outside of the Philippines' anti-money laundering laws. No reporting requirements, no transaction alerts, no suspicious activity checks. Money could enter the casino system, be turned into chips, gambled, cashed out, and turned into clean, untraceable funds. Exactly what the hackers wanted. Millions disappeared into private gambling rooms, VIP tables, and underground money channels. Investigators later said trying to track it was like pouring ink into water. Once mixed, the money was gone. Many of those millions have never been recovered. As investigators dug deeper, they found something chilling. The malware, the timing, the strategy, the precision, it all matched one group, the Lazarus Group, a state-sponsored hacking organization linked directly to North Korea. This wasn't cybercrime for profit. This was cybercrime for survival. North Korea, heavily sanctioned and cut off from the world, has few ways to make money, so they developed a new strategy: steal it. The Lazarus Group has been responsible for the Sony Pictures hack, the WannaCry ransomware attack, multiple crypto exchange heists, hundreds of millions stolen across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. The Bangladesh heist wasn't a one-time mission. It was part of a much larger operation, a campaign to bypass sanctions and fund the North Korean state. This wasn't a bank robbery. It was economic warfare. One nation trying to steal another nation's money to keep its regime alive. The most frightening part of this story isn't that the hackers succeeded. It's that they almost succeeded completely. If not for a typo, a suspicious reviewer, and a broken office printer, the world would have witnessed the largest financial theft ever committed. And it would have happened inside the very systems we trust to keep our money safe. The Bangladesh heist exposed a harsh truth. Modern wars aren't fought only with weapons. They're fought with code, with algorithms, with cyber attacks that can cripple economies. Banks today spend billions on cybersecurity, not because they fear criminals, but because they fear other governments. The next global conflict may not start on a battlefield. It may start in a server room. The Bangladesh bank heist was not the last attempt. It was only the beginning. Since then, banks, governments, power grids, hospitals, and financial networks have all been targeted. The world is more connected and more vulnerable than ever before. If hackers could almost steal $1 billion from a central bank, what else is possible? How much money has already vanished without anyone knowing? How many systems are already compromised right now? And how long before the next digital heist succeeds? This is the new frontier of global power. Silent, invisible, and incredibly dangerous.